to Unplugged Church Edition. I am here with my amazing host, but first let me introduce myself. I am Elder Stacy, and I am here with my amazing host,
Evangelist Freddie.
Okay, and we are here. We have a fabulous guest. We have he is an opera singer. His name is Eric Greene.
Yes.
He has traveled the world.
Yes.
And it is amazing to be sitting next to him because he has a lot to tell us. We're going to be talking about, women. This is still the season of the woman. We're still talking about the woman. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the women who have influenced him, who have inspired him, and who have encouraged him, and who has made an impact in his life. So we are glad to hear what he has to say.
Okay, well, as was said before, my name is Eric Greene. I am an opera singer. I'm a baritone. And wow, I mean, when you talk about women and the impact that they've had on my life, it's actually an honor to be able to give tribute or highlight or to uplift their names and some of the stories that I have about them, and I'm looking forward to getting into it, and we can share that, and hopefully something will inspire you that maybe was said to me, or something that I'm doing now because of the influence and the impact that these women have had on my life.
That's true, because I don't think a lot of women realize the difference they make in people's lives. And you just been blessed with to be surrounded and so loved. I know you're an opera singer, but I know you got some holiness apostolic background now. I know you got some, come on, speaking in tongues. Jesus, 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 Jesus. I know you got some of that back there.
Of course.
So tell us about that. Like growing up in church. Now, I grew up, the great Baptist church, honey, Free Will Baptist, glory to God, the right way, hallelujah. But I did not hear opera singers in church, right? And growing up, I saw them as, on TV, Marian Anderson, but it was like unheard of.
Right.
And then I was introduced to you, and I'm like, okay, he can sing opera. And I heard you sing. I was like, oh my God, he really can sing. Like, oh my Lord, like fascinating. Like, it just takes you on a journey. Praise the Lord. But tell us how. Because you didn't start off that way. Like, how did that even transition? Tell us that.
Okay, so the beginnings of singing, singing, as Evangelist just finished telling you. Evangelist Freddie just said that I did grow up in a Pentecostal. My background is Pentecostal, so I was introduced to singing through church. So I sang on church choir starting at the age of 4. And it was just all of the sounds that were made, that impressed me, and I mean, all this singing, and the organ and all of that, it was almost like, I didn't know anything else.
Okay.
I didn't know anything else but that sound, and that, and that open throat singing, and and that singing over top of the drums, the Hammond, and everything going, and people shouting, screaming,
shouting and screaming.
So it's all of that. So I, to sing over that was just like what we did. Excuse me. And so I know my aunt who is now asleep. She passed at she was 36 when she passed, but she was her singing influenced me. Her friend, she had friends in church who also sang on the choir. My aunt Velva, also on my father's side, she's a singer. She sang, and her voice impressed me. And then her friend Ronnie, we call her Ronnie, but it's Rondella Nichols, Maddox. I'm putting our government name out like that, but she was also a voice that impressed me, And then we had another lady at the church. Her name was Shandy or Chandra McClellan, and she was also another singer. So in each of these singers that I'm speaking of, each one of them were very different in the way that they sang. It wasn't just it wasn't all shouty. It wasn't screamy. Some sang, and it was but some of them had a little more as you know, now I can speak about the voice in a technical way, but it had more lift or more head voice in it. So it wasn't all open throat just singing, but you had a mix of it all,
Oh,
you know. And just the way that times were in the 70s and especially 70s, I guess 70s. Not that I know a lot about the 70s music as much. I was, you know, born in the 70s, but I was a kid. So, you know, but 80s and early 90s, you know, you had, you know, like if we think about popular music, even in gospel, you know, you had such a diverse palette of singers. You know what I mean? They were all. I mean, you could have a Shirley Caesar, an Inez Andrews, and you could have a Tremaine Hawkins, and a Tremaine Hawkins who could give you that kind of classical kind of sound. You know what I mean? And that, and you know, and you have what is the lady's name? I almost said it. She passed. She was Wilmington, Delaware. No, Wilmington, Delaware Mass Choir. She sang "The Race Is Not Given."
Okay,
to the
I don't know her name, but I know
strong. Yeah, her. Yeah, Kim McFarland. Kim McFarland.
Yes.
You had a Kim McFarland. So you know, then you had Vanessa Bell Armstrong. You had Daryl Coley. So you had the runs with the. You know, you had all the types of. Voices.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah, and then you come over here, and then we go into popular music. We have Whitney Houston against a Gladys Knight, or you know, and these people were all legitimate singers, and they were very different. You know, and no one mimicked. No one was mimicking.
True.
You know, now you can hardly tell. Yeah,
so true.
Now you can't tell people. Everyone wants to sing like Kim Burrell, or everyone wants to do what Kim Burrell does. And Kim Burrell is Kim Burrell.
Let her be her.
Yes, and we have a Leandria Johnson. I mean, you know, now so it's so many. You know, and of course the Clark sisters. You know, there's not. You know,
and Fantasia.
I mean, that Fantasia. You know, so we can go on and on about singers. So you know, I love that. These and a lot of them I highlighted were women, but I'm just still saying that they were such a variety. The palette was so diverse.
Yes.
And with that, you have you just have a better presentation of music when everything is not the same. I mean, because if you walk in and every color is the same, you don't. I mean, it's boring. Exactly. Right. So to have a splash of red somewhere, or fuchsia, or you know, this bright pink, or you know, whatever, you know, or whatever, green or whatever, and then you come out with these colors and these voices, it makes it so exciting. And for me, that is what sort of stimulated me, you know, with the singers that I mentioned that were around me in my church. But yeah, that's so I didn't grow up singing classical music. I didn't even hear it until I got to high school.
Okay. So you mentioned, I did watch a presentation you've had about growing in Catholic schools and how that impacted you. What was that?
Yeah, so and since we're like, and again, keeping with the theme about women, you know, here is another woman that impacted my life in a very major way. I went to Catholic school at the in the second grade, St. Peter Clavers, in Baltimore, near Sandtown. You were in the house. So her name was Sister Clarice. Already Baltimore, right? Her name was Sister Clarice, and she mentioned to me one day, you know, I was, you know, I was a mischievous child, not disrespectful, but I talked a lot. You know, I couldn't keep quiet. I was fidgety.
Sound like my son.
Yeah, you know.
Wasn't bad, but just
couldn't keep still, couldn't stop talking.
Right.
And a social butterfly kind of person, and you know, a little bit of a not a class clown, but just clowny. You know, just immature.
Right.
And I would get in trouble a lot. A boy, right? And I would get in trouble a lot. And so she asked me to. You know, she gave me the assignment as if it were a reward to clap the erasers and to clean the blackboard. So I did that, but I think she was very wise in doing that, because she talked to me while I was doing this. She had a conversation with me, and she said, "You know, Eric, you have the power to choose whether to be good or whether to be bad."
Okay.
And her saying that to me, you know, it was something, because she gave it to me.
Right.
She gave me the responsibility and showed that, you know, you can do this because it's your choice,
Your
you know, and
choice.
you should, you know, and you know, she said some other things, and it was just the way she said it. It wasn't that it was so foreign to me because, like I said, I did grow up with a church background. My grandmother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, they helped raise me. My mom, but then my grandmother, my great grandmother were churchgoers, you know, on my mom's side. My father's side also, my grandmother there. So I was sandwiched in with so much of these words, you know, and then I would be completely remiss if I did not say mention Reverend Ruth Neal, who was the pastor that I grew up under, at Pentecostal Holiness Church is what it was called, on Gilmore Street, and right there in Sandtown. So.
That's something.
You know, and she was just an amazing woman, just a woman of faith, a woman of integrity, a woman of power, great power in the spirit, and power just in herself, on her stature. She was tall, and she was a big woman. You know, she was tall, but you know, her stout. Yes, her stature. And she walked in, and she didn't walk. She wasn't slumped over.
She was in the room. Her presence,
was in the room, but not in a boastful way, or I'm better than everybody else in here. You know, and I'm the pastor. It was never that, but it was. She couldn't help but be who she was. You know, and seeing that as a kid. When there was a void of the male figure, it was impacting. It was impactful, you know, and I can mark that. I can remember that. But what I mostly remember is her ability to love. She has such great love, and that really touched me, you know. And then my grandmother followed suit. My mom's mom, my great grandmother. You know, my great grandmother moved up from North Carolina, because she had a farm in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. She came up for a couple months to watch me as a kid, as a baby, and then my grandfather and my mom convinced her, why don't you just give up the farm and move up here and take care of, you know, help take care of your great grands, you know,
that's
and
called
all of that.
permanent babysitter.
Yeah, basically. And she did that, and I'm telling you, the love that I received, it really filled the void for the absences that were there. You know, so these women were awesome, and I mean, and not lazy women. I mean, who worked full-time jobs, took care of the house, took care of my grandfather, who was also ailing around that time, around when I was 9. He passed away. He had cancer. So my mom's father passed. And then, so you know, and in all of the other dysfunctions, you know, that go on in our families and in inner city and all that. I mean, you know, my story is no more unique than anyone else's. You know, that have grew up in inner city during that time, and you know, with poverty, welfare, all that kind of stuff. But like, again, the love filled that void in such a way that it reupholstered everything, you know, in a way. You know, it was a brand new couch, even though the couch was falling apart. It was a brand new couch because of the love. You know, you sat in it, it was a comfortable seat. You didn't feel like, you know, I want to just get out. You know,
and you don't have to audition for it every time.
No, exactly. It's freely there.
It's freely there. That's awesome.
So and I that's the background of church, and really you know, having those seasoned women around us, because you know, again, on those times going to church, I went to church every day of the week. Every day of the week I was in church. I mean, Saturdays we gave out food, so I was still at the church, giving out food, right? Or we would drive and drop it off to people's homes. But my life was just all surrounded by that and that only, and it was a bit yeah, it was a bit. It was a lot, but it was. It was a lot, but it was good. It really was good.
That's good. Yeah. That's good that was your experience, and that, you know, absent after your grandfather passed away, you had that love. So you really didn't feel that void, because they filled that void for you because of the love that they you know, shed upon you. And so from there, and you said the sister at the Catholic school. Let's go back there.
She said that to me, and after she said that, gave me that choice. they said that to me. That day, you know, I made that decision. So I learned early, which is also she gave me. She gave me the power to make a decision.
That's good.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because
she
and
put the
everything,
responsibility
see what I
back
mean?
on you.
And everything in life is based on a decision.
That's it.
With everything we do,
And your response, when it
yes.
comes to that.
Say
Yeah,
that
exactly.
again.
Yeah. So it's just
Everything. That's
everything.
it.
You know, when you even you know, since we are in a church setting right now. I mean, you know, in a church discussion, even salvation is a decision.
It's a decision.
It's a decision.
Should
It's that
we this
and
day?
whom you serve. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with the you know, all of the other stuff that people want to put on. You got to fall out. You got to do this.
Right.
No,
It's a
basically,
decision.
it's once you make that decision, and no one knows when you make it. They just see the signs of it. But God, that's why God said, the Bible says that, you know, man looks on the outer appearance, but God looks on the heart. God knows the heart. So he sees the heart. And that decision happens in a place that's so deep and so secret and so private that only he sees it.
Exactly.
And then once you do it, everything falls in line. You know, all of your actions, your walk, all of it changes because, you know, you move from one path onto another path because of that decision. And I think that was the biggest thing she gave to me, because you growing up in the city, like I said, and then me doing what I do as for work and in ministry is to be a singer and then to be an opera singer. That was a decision. Because a lot of people were around me would say, why do you want to sing this music? Why do you want to sing? My buddies would ask me, why do you want to sing this music? Why do you want to sing white people's
That's
music?
what they say, right?
Yeah, you should be singing R&B, or you should be singing gospel, because that's no.
Right.
So
this is your purpose.
Yes,
You're living your purpose.
Yes, and you have to be secure in the decision you make. You know, and I have to say, you know, that was shown
because
to
when
me
did
by a
you
woman.
start singing opera?
I was introduced to it in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, so high school, I went to high school, went to Performing Arts High School.
In Baltimore.
In Baltimore, the Baltimore School of the Arts. And then I met another amazing woman, who was my voice teacher. You know, Jean Carter, and that was just, I mean, it's so funny to be a part of this to be a part of this series that you all are doing, because honestly, my whole life has been impacted. At each pivotal moment in my life has been impacted by a woman.
Wow. Each time.
Something that was given to me, something was said to me that put me on another road, put me on or helped me to make a choice.
But you know, I think that's important, because even now there are a lot of single women that are raising males. And you know, some women feel like, am I doing a good job? Am I telling my son enough? Because, you know, if the male is absent, the father is absent, or just can't be the father that we would like for them to be, you know, this is encouraging to that woman.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
This is, you know, encouraging her. You do make a difference.
Yeah, you do make a difference, and your strength is strong enough to you know, the child will see your strength, and they'll be able to make that correlation later in life as they go back and remember, well, my mom did this while she was, you know, she had to do all of this by herself, and she did this and she did that. Well, as you get older, you'll look back and you'll see just what type of strength and see what it really took to be able to do that.
Right. And you're a whole man. You know, you don't have to be like, you know, because sometimes people, they're like, oh, my son's not going to be a man, or he's not going to, you know, you're married, you have children, you know.
Great children.
Isn't that something?
and then you talked about being strong, and they were with the strength of a woman. They weren't trying to play a role of, you know, your absent father.
Right.
You know, they were strong in their womenhood, her motherhood.
Right. Yes.
You know, they didn't have to, you know, say, well, look, I'm, you know, got to be a man. You know, you know, some people feel like, you know, I got to put on this hat as a man to play that father role because the father is missing. And you're showing that doesn't have to be the case.
I mean, no, not at all. I mean, no. Could I have maybe been a basketball player as opposed to an opera singer if I had a father or somebody that was probably? But
say your height,
maybe, or but think about it. But if he wasn't into sports, then I wouldn't be in it anyway. You know, but you know what I'm saying. So we can have that too. However, you know, you have you know, there are male influences throughout your life as well that happen. You know, that maybe the mom can put you in touch with. You know, like my mom put me in Boy Scouts for a little bit, of time, and you know, and some boys did karate. I didn't do karate, but it was a neighborhood guy who saw these neighborhood boys, you know, kind of run around, and he said, you know, why don't you all come and be a part of this football? You know, this neighborhood football. So I played football, and right there in Longwood, and Windsor and Longwood. Sorry, Windsor and Longwood. I played football, and that was a male influence there. But you know, so it's not like you have, like you were saying, I have to say I agree with you on that. You don't have to put on anything. I think that just being the strong woman that life demands you to be is enough. Right. You know, and be confident in that, and stop looking to say, oh well, I can't do this because he got, you know, his father should be doing this or this. You know, I again, we have a whole big old God that's capable and knows everything that we need. And if you pray to him and say, you know, lead me in the right way to what to give my son. What does he need? Where does he need to be right now? The Lord will lead you. And I know my grandmother prayed over us all the time. Absolutely. You know, even when my mom wasn't, you know, in church and going like.
Your mother was a time she wasn't in church?
Yeah, it was a time when she wasn't like a church go. I mean, she grew up in church all her life too, pretty much. But there was a time where, you know, it was period after she and my father, you know, separated and then divorced. There was a time where she was, you know, trying to figure out, you know,
had to regroup. Life
happens, right? But she didn't leave the church, but she wasn't like, she didn't go as much as I went. Right. I was like, my grandmother's house, I went every day, and the church is right next door to the house.
You couldn't miss it.
Let me just put that out there.
Yeah, let me put that out there. Let me just say that. So yeah, but that kind of thing. But yeah, but I say that my grandmother, and then with the prayers and the prayers of being surrounded by prayer of the other saints in the church, praying women. Yeah, it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Yes. So we marked from the first woman we talked about, you know, of course, my mom, and then my grandmother, my great grandmother, you know, then Sister Clarice. But again, like I said, I would be remiss if I didn't say my pastor, Mother Neal. I have to say she was just an amazing woman. She still influences me today. That's good. You know, she's passed away. I mean, she's died.
I have never met Mother Neal, but I've heard so many stories. Okay, right? I was like, does anybody have a picture of this woman? Let me just feel, you know, because some preachers you can still hear their sermons, and it still has oil on it. Okay, but to know that this woman, Mother Neal, just a little sidebar, still makes an impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 30, 40 years later, you know, it's still amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it gives me something to continue to strive for.
Right.
Because
in ministry,
right. You know, just to continue on to make an impact on people's lives, for him to even tell his children, listen.
I told my kids about Mother Neal.
I'm telling you, that's where I desire, and I tell the young women, to be conformed to the image of Jesus Christ, and be okay with who God has called you to be. Right? Exactly. That is it. Listen, guys, this is really good. Okay, we want to continue this interview with them a little bit more, because we want to dig some more. I want to hear about the traveling, the opera. He won't sing for us, but we can YouTube him, and he's going to tell us where he's going to be. I mean, this is getting good, honey. He's giving us scripture. He's giving us information. He's giving us encouragement. We're going to talk some more, okay? Because we're in high school now. You've been introduced to opera.
Yep. Miss Carter, that's the woman we just left.
Okay, so we got Miss Carter. Now we need to figure out that transition of how I think you're in love with it, right? Yes, you love opera. It just because again, we don't sing opera now. Rappers nowadays are bringing in opera and and all that good stuff. But
bringing opera singers.
They're adding in, they'll hook some things.
Right.
What we gonna do at the black church? You gonna bring it in the black church some more?
Yeah, but I say whenever at my church, the church we go to now, I mean, my pastor, he definitely enjoys classical music. So at special occasions, I'll sing a spiritual or something like that. I did a concert one time there, and I did a couple of real arias from operas, and then I ended it with spirituals. So it was that kind of thing. But yeah. So it was a nice little segment, little portion. We've done that. I did that one time, but every now and then I'll get up and I'll sing, and when I'm asked, and of course I don't sing gospel. I don't sing gospel.
Right.
So, but I do something. Yeah, I do something. But I grew up in church, so I can sing and I can do some things, but I don't do it justice. I leave it to my friends. I leave it to Jason.
But you grew up that way.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow up. But I didn't grow up really being able to. Really like riff to really riff it. I can do it
the way we like the black church likes it.
Yeah, I can do it, and I do pretty good, decent, and but it's not like.
And it's about moving the people.
Yes, and it's about
God.
Yes,
so you know the black church like to be entertained too now.
I mean, yeah.
Theatrics.
Well, I don't even agree with that because I was just recently at a funeral, and this woman, I forgot what she sang, but she could sing now, but she was very theatrical, and I was like, I didn't feel
you ain't feel no oil in it.
I didn't feel no oil in it, so I wasn't moved. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't touched.
No, right.
But not taking anything away from her gift.
Right.
But what
did
separate me from what she was doing was because she had so much, and all falling back and falling forward, and it wasn't from her heart. It wasn't real, and I can tell some of the people that's what she do, and that's what they like.
Yeah, exactly.
Entertainment,
yeah. And that's and that's what we're talking about now. But that's what we're dealing with now in all of music.
Yeah,
that kind of thing in church and in the
public
itself.
Exactly. You cannot get people to come.
Yes, it's not about right. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so this is part 1. Okay, we're gonna come back. Part 2, join us for our next episode, okay? We have Eric Greene, Baritone here, world traveler. Honey, he corrected us. We were talking about the states that he didn't travel. He said, well, countries. He was like, excuse us. Let us get ourselves together. Get my passport stamped, honey. So this is your girl Evangelist Freddie Jones, and this is
Elder Stacy.
And we'll be right back with next episode with Mr. Eric Greene, Baritone.
See you soon.
Opera singer.
Thank you for viewing and listening to Unplugged Church Edition. Remember to subscribe to both Spotify and YouTube. Don't forget, like, follow, and share on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you again for listening to Unplugged Church Edition as we continue to have soulful conversations.